Hey everybody, this is Andrea Jenson from the Cash Flow CFO, and you're listening to the Cash Flow CFO Podcast, the show that explores the financial side of running a business for people who want to maximize profitability and scale with confidence. If you want to make smart financial decisions based on data and put more of your hard-earned profits into your pocket, this is the podcast for you. This episode of the Cash Flow CFO podcast is brought to you by the Cash Flow CFO. Did you know that on average, business owners have up to 84% of their personal net worth tied up in their business? Our virtual CPAs and CFOs, as well as accounting and bookkeeping experts, empower business owners just like you to make big leaps that help them maximize profitability and scale with confidence. Visit thecashflowcfo.com for more information, and thank you for listening. Hey everyone, it's Andrea, and our guest for today is Darnyelle. Darnyelle is an award-winning, iconic, and incomparable Inc. 5000 CEO of Incredible One Enterprises, LLC, a multi-million-dollar coaching and consulting brand best known for transforming the lives of her business coaching clients and live event attendees. Darnyelle equips her clients to leverage and scale businesses that serve them financially and spiritually. She is a 7-time best-selling author, the creator of 5 powerful business systems, and the host of the Move to Millions podcast. Now she is introducing the world to her new book that she was born to write, Move to Millions. I'm excited to talk about that. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, you are very welcome. So I would love to find out a little bit about you and how you got bit with the entrepreneurial bug and started your business.
I love that you started by asking me that question because I don't think anyone has ever asked me that. So
Really?
first, just to share with everyone, my name is Darnyelle. So there's a Y in there.
Sorry.
Darnyelle. Yeah. And it's important to me because it means the secret place where dreamers go to dream. And so, so entrepreneurially, I was engaged to be married in my early 20s, and 3 months before my wedding, my first ex-fiance, yes, I did say my first, he announced that he had gotten an older woman in our church pregnant. And so the bottom fell out of my life. And everything that I knew was called into question, and I became cynical and negative and frustrated and all the things. And one of my besties got sick and tired of me moaning and groaning and walking around like someone stole my bike. And so she calls me one night and she says, "Listen, we're going to a Mary Kay skincare class." And I'm like, "I don't wear makeup." And she's like, "I don't care, you're coming." And so I went through all the things. I washed half of my face and used the product. And when it was over, not only did I feel better, I had forgotten my problems, but I bought everything the woman put on my face, every single thing. I loved the product so much so that in 2 months when the product was running out, I called the lady and I was like, "I want to get more." And she's like, "Well, we have this opportunity for you to become a beauty consultant. Are you interested in that?" So I actually became a Mary Kay beauty consultant. I was a closet consultant at first, but then I went to my first seminar, and that's where I was introduced to personal development and mindset and this wonderful world of seeing yourself the way that I believe God intended for us to be seen. And that's when I got hit by the entrepreneurial bug. And so it was then there that I declared that I was going to change the world. I was going to change the world one lipstick at a time. I ended up becoming a sales director, and then ultimately a pink Cadillac sales director, and then a top pink Cadillac sales director, all based on what I learned about personal development within this organization. And then about 2.5 years, I did Mary Kay full time before I decided to start my own business because I wanted to deepen my impact. But I can promise you, I would not be an entrepreneur today were it not for Mary Kay Cosmetics.
That is super cool. I think what I like best about that story is you usually hear people that go that route, right? They become an ambassador for a brand like that, and then they kind of
fizzle out. That's it.
Yeah.
But that was really your launching pad. And
It
you were like,
was.
I made a boatload of money here and I'm going to go make a boatload of money doing this myself.
Absolutely.
So,
It was, because that's exactly what happened. I got to the point where I was like, I'm working really, really hard for 50% of product sales and 4 to 13% of my downline, right? I was like, this, if I'm going to work this hard, I want all the money. And so that was literally the impetus that made me create my own business. I remember I was getting my second pink Cadillac. It was September of 2007, and we had to do 62,000 in wholesale. That's 120,000 in retail. If I would have sold 120,000 in my own company today, I'd have 120,000. I sold, 120,000 in Mary Kay, and my commission check was $16,000. I was like, I am done working this hard for that little. And that was literally when I started plotting, what am I going to do when I grow up? And how am I going to create a business that will allow me to keep the money that I'm earning?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So did you early on I can tell you're very good with numbers, right? So early on you were like, this doesn't actually all add up when
the math wasn't
you're looking at your sales, you're looking at your commission, you're looking at the percentages, right? And and so you kind of were like, no, I want it all.
Yeah, it sounded cool at first. And I'm so grateful to Mary Kay, because I promise you this would not be happening were it not for that. But as the dust started to settle and I realized the amount of efforting that I was doing, the compensation just didn't line up. It just did not make good business sense. And I think once you understand the numbers and you look at them, you can't keep doing the same thing. Like, that's the definition of insanity, right? So I was like, this isn't working. I've got to find a way to do something that really does leverage my skill sets, but also allows me to earn in direct proportion to the gifts that I'm putting out in the world. And so that was the beginning of figuring out. Now I'll cut to the punchline, which is I wasn't successful at first. I struggled massively when I first started my own ground up business, so bad that we ended up filing bankruptcy. I ended up going back to work. And while I went back to that job, I had committed to a 2-year contract. I made myself a promise that at the end of the 2 years, I was going to be unemployable and I was going to come back into this business full time. I would have figured out what I needed to do to be able to sustain myself. And so that first year out back in 2011, we did 6 figures. The next year we did multiple 6 figures, almost $500,000. The year after that, we did $1 million. Like literally in 3 years, we crossed the 7-figure mark in the business because I made a decision. And I was like, if I'm going to do this work, if I'm going to show up every single day fully and do this work, I am going to do it in a way that yields me the greatest return. Period. That's it. So what do I need to do? Who do I need to become in order to allow myself the opportunity to be the CEO of a company that makes millions of dollars a year?
So I'd love to know, what were some of the skills that you had to close the gap on from your first go round as an entrepreneur to the successful where you've been now? What was missing in that equation the first time?
Yeah, there's 3 things that popped into my mind as you were asking that question. Number 1 is the operational infrastructure. I didn't have systems. Like today, I say systems make your millions predictable. But I was basically starting from scratch anytime I went to do something. And, that gets old. It's cute at first, right? Because you're learning and you're so excited. But then eventually, when you need to collapse time, it doesn't work to have to keep starting from scratch. So our operational infrastructure was terrible. That's number 1. Number 2, I was really great at sales. I'm a natural salesperson. I think because I'm so energetic and enthusiastic that people want to borrow my confidence and excitement for the product in order to be able to get it themselves. So sales was really easy. But you know where I struggled? In the follow-up. I would have a conversation with someone and we'd be good to go. And I would supposed to be following up and I would be on to the next thing. So really tightening the infrastructure around our core operations, understanding the significance of follow-up. And then the third is understanding the pricing. See, when I was selling Mary Kay, I was used to wholesale versus retail. And so I kind of came into entrepreneurship as a consultant, as a coach, still operating with a wholesale mindset. And that was a big part of the reason why I ended up having to go back to work and filing bankruptcy, because I just wasn't charging enough. I wasn't charging more than it cost, not only for the purposes of experiencing profit, but just for the purposes of actually being able to have resource enough to hire support so that I wasn't everything in my business. And so I made myself the bottleneck, and I put myself in this precarious situation where I really couldn't change anything because I didn't understand the finances. I did not understand the operational infrastructure, and I didn't understand the significance of creating a follow-up plan that would allow me to get clients to come in all the time, except for when I was in dire need. So those three challenges that I identified, which sent me back into working for someone else, were the three things that I fixed and got me to that $1 million mark in a short period of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And, you know, as business owners are scaling from 6 to 7 and up, right? It really, you said it right there. Like, you know, to make $1 million business predictable, you've got to have repeatable systems. You've got to have the sales on, you know, you have to understand, if I spend this much in ad spend, I expect to get this many leads. And I know that my team can convert X number of, you know, leads. This is my conversion rate. And you can document it down the sales pipeline to know that if I put this in up here, I'm going to get this out down here.
Right.
And it's a repeatable process.
Yeah. And for every core area of the business, right? So not even just the marketing and the sales engine, but also the client service delivery, like really understanding what it's going to take to be able to deliver the level of service that's going to make a client want to renew and refer. Mm-hmm. So that's an important thing to think about as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the other piece, the recipe for how you do what you do, so that you have that budget, right? So that everybody knows this is how I deliver it within these amount of hours at this, you know, here's my pay rate. And then you're able to then plan, right? Because that goes back into pricing. If you don't know how much it costs you to deliver, well, you're shooting in the dark when you're trying to pick out how much you're going to sell the thing for. So yeah,
absolutely.
Those are all such great things, and congratulations to you for everything that you've achieved. And I'd love to hear, you know, fast forward, you've written 7 books now. So is this number 8 or number 7 that you're?
Book number 8.
Yay, that's so amazing. So fast forward, fill in any of the exciting, juicy details, but I'd love to hear more about the book and kind of what you're up to now in your business.
Yeah. So once we figured out how to get to the $1 million mark for ourselves, it became important to create the framework that we leveraged and to test it on clients so that we knew that it would be something that would be sustainable. One thing that's important about me and my body of work is I don't do any theory. Anything that I ever present to any client at any particular point in time, I know it's going to work with a predictable level of certainty, because we've been there, done that. We've tried it. We've poked, we've prodded. We made the mistake. We corrected. We did all the things in order to produce the result that we know is possible. And so for me, writing the book, when we first got to the $1 million mark, which a lot of people do, they get there and they all of a sudden want to start teaching other people how to do it. Yeah, that's actually not the way that it should work, because there's an element of theory involved in you doing it and doing it once without knowing the predictability of your ability to be able to do it over and over and over again. And so once we got the framework down, we worked it, we started going through it with our clients. And when we weren't even really paying attention to it, it wasn't our focus to get businesses to the $1 million mark. We just really wanted a business growth methodology that would work and be agnostic. So it wouldn't matter what kind of business you have. Even though we've made the choice to work almost exclusively with service-based businesses, we tested it across business because we wanted to make sure that we really had something that we could put our IP behind, that we could leverage in a multitude of ways to create assets for ourselves. And so without even really paying attention, after we released it for the very first time, we had 3 clients that year that crossed the $1 million mark, and then 5, and then 7, and then 10, and then 15. And before we knew it, we were at 20 clients. And I was like, okay, we've been doing this long enough now. We have a track record for success. We've proven that we can write the book on this particular thing. And so then I started writing the book. I started writing the book in 2021-ish. late 2021, early 2022. By the time the book released, we were at $42 million CEOs that we've created with this process. And so the book is called Move to Millions, the proven framework to become $1 million CEO with grace and ease instead of hustle and grind. And the book is part memoir and part methodology. I unpack my story, the story of overcoming obstacles, triumphs, and success, along with the methodology around the core components of growing a business that every entrepreneur needs to understand and integrate into their business growth strategy so that they can achieve what it is that they want. And what makes my book unique is that, there are a boatload of books on the market that talk about getting to the $1 million mark. There are a lot of books that tell you absolutely nothing. It's just the person's personal journey to millions. So there's not really a lot that you can do anything with, right? And then there are other books that convolute and give you too many things that are challenging for you to be able to actually customize and integrate into the process that you're using. And in most of these books, the one thing that they all fail to offer you is the part of business that people don't talk about enough.
Start scaling with confidence today. The Cash Flow CFO is a full-service accounting and fractional CFO firm. So it goes without saying that our financial experts are phenomenal at number crunching. But more than that, they are expert communicators who will connect all those complicated financial dots in a way that just makes sense. We don't wait in the wings and check in every so often either. With our boutique approach, we position ourselves front and center, watching over every dollar that comes in and out of your business as if it was our own. So if your business is making money and you're ready to take it to the next level, but you're not sure you completely understand your numbers, and you're looking for that trusted guide to help you build a roadmap to reach your financial goals, it sounds like we would be a great fit. Visit thecashflowcfo.com and let's get started empowering you to build and scale your business the way you want to today.
I say all the time, if it was just about strategy, everybody would be making millions. And book after book after book wants to outline the strategy. And don't get me wrong, strategy is an important component, but it ain't everything, right? And so in our book, we talk about what I call the softer side of entrepreneurship, which is actually the harder part of entrepreneurship, alignments and surrender and forgiveness, and the role that forgiveness plays in opening you up to experience what it is you say you want to do in the world at the highest level. Entrepreneurship is an opportunity to really become and rise up into an identity that serves you and serves humanity. But it starts out as an identity crisis. And, when you first put yourself out there and you get those first set of no's, it's enough to make you want to run back to your job, right? And so we talk about some of the things that aren't readily accessible in business books because they're an important part of the process and the journey. I say all the time that it's about who you become on the journey, not the journey itself. And learning how to self-lead, how to become self-aware, how to lead others, how to be the embodiment of what it is that you say that you want. When you've got lots of things coming at you, because building a business isn't linear, nor is it black and white. It is filled with ebbs and flows and highs and lows. And who you become on this journey often dictates and determines whether or not you'll actually scale to and sustain a business that will make you $1 million CEO and eventually a millionaire in the process. And so we get into all of that inside of the book, which is really a really powerful blueprint for those who are either in what I call the millions messy middle, that chaotic corridor between the $300,000 mark and the $1 million mark when everything is called into question, or those who are literally just starting a business for a first time tomorrow, but they want to get a preemptive look at what it's going to take and who they need to become in order to pull it off. The book really will support everyone on wherever they are in the journey of making the move to the $1 million mark.
100%. It's like you can read all the theory you want, but unless you get your mindset and your grit, your strength, your internal things, you can teach it, right? But it's things that you have to have those skills in order to continue, to take it from here up to here, and then to sustain it.
Absolutely.
That's your
Yep.
next book.
Right.
How to
Yep.
sustain it, because it's a whole different, everything is much bigger. Your team is much bigger. The bank balances are much bigger. The cash coming in and cash going out is much bigger.
Right.
And it's almost one of those of like, gosh, if I, look down off the ledge, am I going to fall, or am I going to, just keep going? And
Absolutely. And statistically, 78% of businesses that cross the $1 million mark don't sustain it over time. There are a lot
Really?
of one-hit wonders out there. Yeah. I pay a lot of attention to the numbers, right? There's a lot of one-hit wonders. And my job is to teach people how to sustain it. And the reason why I believe there's a lot of one-hit wonders is because there are a lot of people hustling their way there, and hustle is not sustainable.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
You're going to burn out before you cash out. And once they get there, there's a lot of resentment of what they lost on the journey to get there. So they shrink back and decide, you know what, I don't want that. And I only know that because that's what happened to me. The first time I made the move to the $1 million mark was 2014 and 2015. I hated my business. It was a big, hairy, audacious monster. And I couldn't wait to kill it. And so I was like, you know what? I started shrinking back. You know what? I don't need $1 million company. It's just me. I'm single. I really only need, and I started giving myself permission to talk myself out of my greatness and the level that I was born to play at, because it was so hard and I hustled my way there with all the wrong intentions and motives. It was not sustainable. It took me 2.5, 3 years to get back to the $1 million mark, but I built it in a way that I could sustain. And we're going on year 5 at multiple millions, doubling every single year, or at minimum in our business. And so I was willing to lose it all in order to figure out what I couldn't figure out initially, so that I could do it from a place that would really serve me long term. Because for me, it's not just about the money. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love money. I want to have a lot of it. When you've been broke and you've been bankrupt, you don't want to experience that anymore. But the money is not enough to just get up anymore. It has to be tied to impact and the ability to help other people. Like for me, I stopped setting revenue goals and now I'm focused on tithing. How much money can I give away? If I want to be able to write $25,000 and $50,000 and $100,000 checks, then I have to run a business that makes enough to allow me to do that without sacrificing my lifestyle and my ability to run my business and hire and support my team while I do. And so once I got beyond the bright, shiny object of, oh my gosh, I made it to the $1 million mark. Let me go buy all of the flashy, shiny things. I said, oh, now that I'm $1 million business, how can I impact society? How can I be the change that I want to see? Because you can't be the change when you don't have any. And most of the businesses in our country are running at what I call small business poverty. A low 6-figure business is not enough. You can't even pay yourself 6 figures. You're in poverty. So how do we get you out of this poverty and actually get you to a place where you can actually, not just even making a difference for other people initially, just live the way that you quit your good job to live. Because I don't know about you, Andrea, but I did not leave my good job to come into entrepreneurship and struggle. And barely make enough to
work double the amount you were working before.
Did not do that.
Yeah. No, I love that. So it's one thing to get to the million. It's another to sustain it and continue to grow it. And you talked about operational systems, sales follow-up systems, but the financial systems and the financial team that you need to surround yourself with, that's where we see a lot of businesses that are just getting to that point, or they're at that point. And like you said, it's this crazy monster that consumes them. And they can't, like, they're just too in it to be able to see. And so we're able to say just a few changes to your financial foundation, your practices, your cash management practices, your billing terms, where you're setting your pricing, all of these things that eases the hustle and the grind. And it makes you a grown-up, mature business with sound financial principles principles. You've got, 3 months of your operating expenses in the bank, and, you're sleeping well at night because you're not, just tiny margins.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that having not just a CFO, which I know that's the role you and your team play for companies, but the whole financial management team, right? So from bookkeeper way before you get to the $1 million mark, CPA way before you get to the $1 million mark, CFO, I feel like it could wait until you get to the $1 million mark, right? But
Yeah.
once you get to the $1 million mark, you need a CFO, even if it's fractional support. You probably don't need a full-time person. But, a financial advisor that is not just looking at your personal retirement, but looking at your business and your estate plan, your small business attorney, like all of these people as a part of this financial management team, meeting and connecting and coming together on behalf of the goals that you set financially for your company, to not just allow you to be able to run your business today, but to be able to retire one day. Or to hire someone else to be the CEO of your company if that becomes your desire, without you having to give up your lifestyle in the process. It's so important. And we get into that in the book, like who needs to be on your financial management team. We call that your legacy team. Like who needs to be there? What are the questions you need to be asking yourself and asking them so that they can help you to build that financial stability that you really need in order to scale to and sustain a million and multi-million-dollar business.
Mm-hmm. And ultimately walk away with a business that is an asset that can be transferred, right? It has value. You can sell it. We talk a lot about there's the 5 exits of a business owner out of the business, right? The very last one is when you actually sell it, but there's a lot of stages along the way that you're, removing yourself out of it. And it ultimately will strengthen the asset by you getting out of the way and having it be a professionally managed business versus an owner operator type business.
Yep.
So
couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, I love this. And I think everybody needs to go check out the book. And will you give us the name of the book again?
Yep, absolutely. I'll even do you one better. I'll show you guys the picture. So it's Move to Millions, the proven framework to become a $1 million CEO with grace and ease instead of hustle and grind. It's available wherever you buy books, or you can go to movetomillionsbook.com, and then we'll point you to, the Amazons, the Barnes and Nobles, the Targets, the Walmarts, all the Books of Millions, all the places where you can get the book. It is available for you to get there. One of the things I'm really excited about with the book is we created a companion resource guide. So we have the worksheets and the templates that I refer to in the book, all in a guide that you can get access to for free. So it's a bonus for getting a copy of the book, because I don't want this to just be a book that sits on your bookshelf. I want you to read it. I want you to digest it. I want you to actually implement from it, because otherwise it's just more knowledge, and nobody needs more knowledge. It's the applied knowledge that really makes the difference. And we want to create an environment where we can shift these terrible statistics. I mean, there's 13 million women-owned businesses in the United States. Approximately 1.9% of them make 7 figures. If you're a Black woman, 0.5% make 7 figures a year and sustain it. And there are 33 million small businesses in the US. Now, that number is a little skewed because a small business is classified as a company that has less than 1,500 employees and less than $40 million in revenue. So we could definitely argue that many of the businesses that are run, the vast majority of them are actually micro businesses. And so when you think about the number of micro businesses that make 7 figures, that statistic is even less. It's less than 2% of all businesses that are micro that actually make 7 figures. But we have a real chance to shift the statistics if we can teach people business acumen, what they need to learn. And that's why the work that you do is so important. Because I promise you, if nothing happens until somebody sells something, a business will not be a business until there is financial management. So it's so important to make sure that you understand that. And I think every entrepreneur and CEO should have a working knowledge, but you should also have financial management experts participating in the process with you, because it's so easy to overlook and cause problems that you don't need to have if you don't understand what's going on to move the needle within the organization.
Absolutely. 100%. And then the other side of that, right? So that's the getting there. The other side of that is 80% of businesses that go on the market to be sold for your retirement as a business owner don't sell. 80%, because they haven't implemented these financial principles and they don't have an asset that has value, even though it's created a paycheck for them and a livelihood for 10, 20, 30 years. When it comes time that they need the retirement, the big chunk of change, they're not getting it. And so you're on the front end, I'm on the back end and the in-between. And that's my mission too, is to help these business owners get all of these components in place so that they can continue to grow and scale and then ultimately exit and have that nice retirement. So
yeah, I love that. So good. We're so needed in this world.
I know. Everybody should listen to, come and check out your podcast. Listen to all mine, because we do a lot of education, right? That's what, drives me. I know it's what drives you. It's like, if I can get one person to listen and go, oh, that makes sense, and then go and make that change in their business, and they see the big impact and the return on that investment of their time and energy, I'm happy.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Awesome. Well, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for being a guest on today. And everybody go and get a copy of the book, listen to the podcast. You got some good stuff over there, and I'm excited for everything that you're creating and all the many, many people that you're serving. So keep up. And I love that you're an author, right? Because for me, it's all in my head, but for me to sit down and write it, I'm like, oh, that sounds so daunting. So it's beautiful.
And you don't have to sit down and write it. You have a book right now. I bet you, if you went into the archives of your show and you transcribed all of those solo episodes when you're teaching on this or that as it pertains to their business, and you send it to an editor, I bet you have a book right now. I can see Cash Flow CFO. I can see a book out there. Like, I can see it right now. It's just a matter of actually finding a way to get the information done. I am a writer. I love to write. So it was easy for me to sit down, fingers to keyboard, and pump something out. But if that's not your style, I'm sure you could hire somebody who will organize everything you've already said, because I'm sure there's a book on your podcast right now.
Well, I will have to look into it, because that would be amazing and would just increase the impact, right? So
yeah, absolutely. Yep. That for me was why doing the book was so important, because some people just aren't going to be able to work with us, right? They're just not. Like, it's the investment to do so. For some, it may be out of reach, and that's totally okay. Well, now we have something that is very reasonable for people to be able to get the basic information to start the journey. Whereas they might not have been able, they are reduced to what they learn about on Google, which is pieced together instead of the full puzzle that they need in order to produce the masterpiece that they want to have when it's all said and done.
Yeah. Yeah. Very well. Very well spoken. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad I got an opportunity to be here.
You're welcome. We'll have you back on to chat some more, because we could talk for hours on this stuff.
We absolutely could. Yeah.
So many things we could talk about. So, well, thank you. We'll put all the contacts in the show notes so you guys can go and get a copy of the book and learn more about all of the amazing things that you and your business do. So thank you so much for being a guest today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it as well.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and review, and we'll catch you on the next episode. If you're looking for more content or resources in the meantime, check out our website for information, blogs, and our I've Got a Spreadsheet for That series. That's thecashflowcfo.com. Again, thecashflowcfo.com. We can't wait to hear from you.